this video goes out, the Canadian inflation rate is an incredible 8.1%. So if you earn the median Canadian income of $66,800 per year, you're now losing $5,400 worth of purchasing power every 12 months. Which is why inflation is so devastating. If you get a few bad years of inflation, you can wipe out decades of economic progress. Remember just a few years ago when everybody was cheering it as a progressive triumph that the minimum wage had gone to $15? After just 2 years of 9% inflation, that $15 is only worth the equivalent of $12.43. So you're basically back at square one, McDonald's clerk. So what have we done to deserve a currency which hemorrhages 1/10 of its value every year? The basic cause of inflation is that there's too much money around, so the money gets less valuable. It's like how every one of those free libraries is filled with Dean Koontz novels. There's a lot of them, so nobody values them. We've got unprecedented amounts of cash swirling around the Canadian economy right now. And if the constant shortages of everything from Rice Krispies to used cars aren't a clue, we definitively don't have more stuff to buy with it. So people have just started throwing their money at whatever's left. Real estate, bacon, airline tickets, and in so doing, they're bidding up the price of everything. The number one culprit for fire-hosing all this money into the economy is the government. The COVID-19 pandemic featured the single largest spree of debt-financed public spending in the history of human civilization. And it's not like it was spent on bridges or dams or anything. Most of it was expended in cutting checks to people. Some of this money just sort of piled up. Savings rates exploded in both the US and Canada during the pandemic, indicating that large numbers of people were able to take their government assistance and stuff it under the mattress. Central banks didn't really help this either. When COVID hit, they did what they usually do in a crisis, drop the interest rates as low as possible so everybody's incentivized to take out a loan and spend. But everything was closed, right? So all that money just kind of piled up too. And on top of everything, there actually are some sound structural reasons why everything would be getting more expensive. COVID-19 utterly devastated the oil industry, resulting in widespread production shutdowns. And now that our oil demand is going back to pre-pandemic levels, there are no longer enough places pumping oil to keep up. The result is a global oil shortage and the bidding up of whatever oil is left, resulting in price rises for every industry that relies on oil, which is basically all the industries. The war in Ukraine is another good example. If you crowbar one of the world's largest oil producers off the market, it's going to drive up the price of oil. And if you keep shelling one of the world's largest grain producers, it's going to drive up the price of wheat. And the pandemic really screwed with an international system of trade that was pretty good at keeping things cheap. India sends cotton to China, who turns it into fabric that gets sent to Bangladesh, where they sew it into a t-shirt that gets shipped to Canada on a Filipino container ship. But whoops! None of that works too good anymore because you've got all these weird border closures and supply backlogs, so clothing stores are trying to nail down a supply chain with fewer moving parts, which is making it more expensive. So in review, everything would legitimately be more expensive anyways, but it's seeming super duper extra more expensive because prices are getting bid up because people are sitting on way too much cash, largely as a result of reckless public spending. There aren't really any non-painful ways out of this, unless you know some magic way to somehow utterly flood the economy with new stuff to buy, but I can tell you a lot of governments are proposing solutions that are unbelievably dumb. Everywhere from California to Ottawa, you're seeing governments promise multi-billion-dollar packages of new spending to relieve inflation, which, if you've learned anything from this video, trying to fix a cash-saturated economy with even more cash is almost certainly going to make everything worse.